The following is a presentation of the Phillips Sports Media Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Up Tempo Podcast. I'm your host, Dustin Smith, joined by the Mobile legend, Blake Lane. And we are here tonight with another special guest, return of our man, Jay Phillips. A lot of stuff going on in the last 24, 48 hours, man. Transfer portal, all kind of rumors, buzz. Bruce Pearl's out there on the recruiting trail. Just a lot of stuff to get into, man. We want to get your thoughts on how this season ended. We talked to you right before the tournament started. I think we made a pretty good show in all things considered, man. Obviously, the second half kind of broke our heart, but looking back at it, I think this is one of Bruce Pearl's best overall coaching jobs for what he did with this roster, finding a way to get in there and win a tournament game, man. So we just kind of want to chop it up with you and get your thoughts on that, brother.
Yeah, and in terms of the tournament, I feel like it's pretty much what we kind of predicted would happen for the most part. I feel like we were all a little bit more hopeful and putting together a little bit of a run the last time we talked, but Auburn didn't, I know a bunch of people were disappointed after the loss, but it wasn't a disappointing run in the sense that upsetting Houston with their guards playing the way they did in that second half was just not going to happen for Auburn. Not that team anyway.
Well, Jay, man, I got to ask you, the performance that we did see against Houston, but let's go back to game one, man, that Iowa game. Can you just talk a little bit about that performance and just the overall season that Auburn had, the job that Bruce did, and when everybody counted you out and a lot of people were calling you an NIT team, just for you to get to the round of 32, I mean, how big was that for this program?
Yeah, I think it's a good sign. It shows that the floor has definitely raised as well as the expectations, but the Iowa game, that was great. It was definitely one of Auburn's best games of the season. They were shooting well, defending well, just really did everything that Iowa didn't want them to do in that game. But at the same time, that SEC tournament was a little less than what I hoped to see from them, and I think that a better showing there, maybe could have prevented that Houston second round matchup. So there's some give and take, and that's one of the reasons that I think this roster does need such a big shakeup this offseason. And, I don't think it needs as big of one as it's probably going to get, but if Auburn plays its cards right, they can really shore up some of those holes and hopefully not have some of those problems that really just derailed this team and kept them as good as they could be from winning some winnable games.
Well, Jay, man, we've already seen two guys enter the portal, Yohan Traore, Chance Westry. A lot of people seemed heartbroken over Chance, and we all know the potential that he had. But Yohan was pretty much expected to enter. I know a lot of people kind of saw the writing on the wall with him. But, man, could you just talk about those two guys and is there possibly any more guys that could follow them into the transfer portal?
Yeah, Yohan is one that we all saw coming. I was hoping that maybe he would stick it out. It kind of almost felt like hoping that a fringe draft pick would stick it out. But, it was just would have been great to see him develop and take that next step at Auburn, but not surprised he's not going to do it. Chance Westry, though, I saw the notification. And I was like, oh, Tipton just tweeted, like he must have tweeted the Yohan tweet again or something like that. Like double take Chance Westry. That was just completely I did not expect it. I thought Chance Westry a week ago was all but confirming that he was going to return, quote tweeting reporters who were saying Chance Westry was going to return, and whatever, something happened that whatever flipped the switch. But I like Chance Westry. I think he could have had a lot of potential, but a lot of his potential is just that. And he looked good against some of those subpar Israel teams, but so did Yohan, and neither of them. Yohan showed some solid flashes, but Westry he got beat on defense a lot when he got in the game on college, and that was supposed to be a strong suit. And, he wasn't contributing as a three-point shooter, which was Auburn's weakness. And I'm not trying to knock on Westry or anything. I'm just saying that Auburn, he didn't fill those needs for Auburn. And so I'm not surprised that maybe he saw the writing on the wall too, is Auburn's going to go out and get these 6'5" shooters out, or they want to go out and get these 6'5" shooters out of the portal. Those guys are going to play over me unless, I don't know if Auburn told him he wasn't going to start or what the case was there, but in hindsight, it's not a big surprise. And I think that at the same time, you're seeing Auburn recruit just about everyone. And I think that depending on who they start to get some good interest in the portal, you might see some of these other guys enter, some of these other Auburn players follow Westry and Traore into the portal just because they've been recruited over. If Auburn lands, they've got like 12 or 13 offer or not offers, but contacts out with transfers we know of already. If they land 2 or 3 guards, does that push Katie Johnson out? Does that push, if they land some 6'5" wing transfer? Is Alan Flanagan just going to go ahead and put his name in the draft and leave Auburn? I think that definitely could push some guys around, but I don't know if any of these guys at this point are just going to put their names in the portal before Auburn gets some momentum with someone else. But it does seem like Bruce Pearl is full steam ahead recruiting.
That was my thing, Jay, is everybody started like kind of panicking on social media and was like, no chance. The potential was there. And I just kind of said like, hey, here come the overreactions. Let's be patient. The season hasn't even ended yet in college basketball. We still got another weekend to play. And you got a Final Four to watch this weekend. So Bruce Pearl, let him do his job. And I know he has Auburn's best interest. And man, you mentioned Alan Flanagan, and that is one of the guys that I would kind of like to see come back. Him and Jalen Williams. Is there anything going on there? Will they maybe stay, or are they more than likely headed out?
Jalen Williams, I feel like I'd almost be surprised if he's not at Auburn next year, just because he seems to really like Auburn. Seems to it seems to be a reciprocal thing as well. Auburn and the coaching staff like Jalen a lot, and he and his family seem to really like Auburn. So, I could kind of see him coming back in the same sense that, the first time that he was going to kind of be the keystone player or whatever, then Auburn got Jabari and he was fine with it. So I would almost not be surprised if Auburn gets another forward in and Jalen's fine with it, whether he's starting or not. I don't know. But that's my thoughts on that. Alan Flanagan, though, he's I can't remember if he's put his name into the draft once or twice now.
Yeah.
But, either way, he might be at his limit if he puts it in again. I'm not sure, but I could see him, just especially if Auburn does get somebody who might compete with him minutes-wise, I would completely understand if he's just going to take it, because he is an amazing athlete, and I think that at the very least, he'd get a 2-way contract if he put his name in. But I don't know. I'd love to see him return, though, because I was putting some of the stats on Twitter over the last, 5 and 8 games of the season. He was just extremely good, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists a game kind of thing, turning the ball over less than he was, positive assist to turnover ratio and stuff like that. Yeah. So I'd love to see him carry that momentum, that athleticism that he's starting to get back under him and stuff. It'd be nice. He deserves it too, kind of thing. He's taking a lot of flack, but I feel like he really could, especially if Auburn gets to a situation where he's not having to do too much. Put him in that Malik Dunbar role, a little expanded Malik Dunbar role. Yeah. He could really excel.
Yeah, I love it, Jay. I love it. I really want Flan to make his way back to the Plains, man. That is one I'm really hoping for. Dustin, I know you have a lot that you want to get off your chest, and I'm gonna hand it over to you, brother.
Jay, when let's look at some of these guards that we're talking to right now. I want to talk about Denver Jones specifically, and I think that Justin Hokanson said something on Auburn Live where I thought it was the best thing to kind of remember with all this. He's just a lot of moving parts, right? Like if you get a guy like Denver Jones, like you said, then where does KD go? Are you the guy from Rice? I don't have his name wrote down, but he's a point guard, right?
Yeah. Was it Quincy Oliveri?
That sounds right. It was a name like that. Yeah. And Blake will love it because Blake's been all about trying to upgrade size at the guard position.
You better.
But but a guy like Aiden, man, yeah, seriously. I mean, a guy like Aiden, 6'4", shot 20 points a game, shot 47% from the field, 37% from 3-point. I believe Bruce has already met with him. I'm not sure. And then I know that his visit is on April 8th, which is A-Day, his official visit. What do you like our chances with a guy like this? And just, kind of like you mentioned, another question too I have with this, do you think Trey might look to go elsewhere? Because I want Trey to stay. I think that the potential is there. But if we land some of these guys and then maybe if Wynn stays, does Trey say, okay, well now this room is crowded, I've shown I can play a little bit? I mean, or is it just all kind of seems like it's up in the air when I say it out loud, bro?
No, yeah, I completely understand. It does. It is. Who knows what'll happen, kind of thing. If they do get some of these guys, I'm sure they're going to try and recruit Trey to stay or Wendell to stay, depending on who they get. And I think that it's just going to be like you're saying. It's going to kind of be a domino effect to an extent. If this happens and then this happens, then Trey will probably stay. If this happens and this happens, he might leave. But it'd be nice to keep him. It would, especially at this point, you're going to look like Trey's the last member of that high school class for Auburn. And getting those guys in and out so fast would just be pretty disappointing since they all had, high ceilings and they were fun commits to get and stuff like that. But you got to think that if Auburn's pushing any of those guys out, whether it be Trey or Wendell, it means they're getting somebody legit from the portal that is probably going to start over those guys too. So, and I don't know if you guys watched the McDonald's All-American.
Yeah, that was my next question. That was my next question for you.
Was killing it too. So
yeah.
I don't know who's going to be, necessarily eating out of his minutes at this point. And he does have some defensive problems and stuff like that. But man, they didn't play him much because he didn't have the big name and whatever and the 5-star whatever. But dude looked like the best player on the court when he got in a groove.
What was interesting was we're sitting here talking about this, and then Wynn was quote tweeting the tweets about Aiden and was saying this kid's fire and all this kind of stuff. So it's like I see these rumors about Wynn maybe wanting to go, and I see that, and it's just like, man, I don't. It's so crazy. But when you look at just Auburn Basketball, the official account had to delete the tweet, right, of Chance, because it was they put it out. He's coming back, and I had read where the staff was kind of blindsided by this with Chance, right? Where they really, and you mentioned it, they just didn't. No one expected this. We were all thinking he was coming back. And I hate to accuse anybody of tampering or whatever. You think there maybe was like an NIL call in there, or you think? My question is, do you think that something like fast changed, or do you think this was something that was always kind of in the back of Chance's mind? And I'm not saying that he lied and wasn't upfront and honest, but like, do you think maybe this was always kind of in there, or somebody hit him up and it's okay?
With all the ways that players have handlers and agents and stuff like that now, I feel like there's plenty of ways to tamper without breaking any rules, like any written rules per se. So something like that never surprises me. You hear about it happening. You see players committing within a day or two of entering the portal or something like that. And yeah, maybe their dream school offered them or something too. But it's hard to believe that nothing goes on behind the scenes. And I'd say that for anybody. That's college basketball recruiting. It's always been a little bit shady, but yeah, I don't know, man. And I feel like it could also be just something like Chance Westry was thinking that based on the past season that he was going to be a starter, and he's seeing all these guys they're contacting, and he goes and tells them. Maybe it's just something over the past week since the season's really been over. He's been on social media. Who knows? You're dealing with whatever age Chance Westry is, a kid who played at 3 or 4 different high schools, or 2 or 3, however many high schools he played at. These high-end, top-tier college basketball recruits, they all switch summer league teams every year to go play with their friends and stuff like that too. And it's part of the it's part of the norm, I guess.
Do you ever see any regulation for this, man? Like in the game overall? Because I mean, it's in a way it's fun, I'm looking at all these names, and every time a guy enters a portal, there are people like Pablo, where hey, man, you're an Auburn. It's fun and all that, but at the same time, it's like, and you see this a lot. A lot of football coaches are talking about how all of a sudden the NFL is an easier job than a college job. Do you think that this is there's got to be some regulation, where it's like, I don't know I don't even know where it would start, but this is just madness, man. Do you see that somebody stepping in and saying, okay, we've got to tone a little bit of this down?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem now or the biggest hurdle now in terms of all that is the waiver stuff with the NCAA, because these guys are only supposed to be able to transfer one time before they graduate without needing a waiver. And ever since COVID, the NCAA has just been, oh, you're asking for a waiver, you get it. So I think if they tone that down, you're still going to get that initial wave of first-time transfers every year, but it's not going to be it's going to be harder for coaches to recruit over guys, and it's going to be harder for guys to just put their name in the portal. Or, they can put their name into the portal, but you're going to get back into the sit and play guys, which were always you want the great ones in that case, but outside of that, it's kind of hard to take those guys. But I think that would be a way to slow it down just a little.
Well, Jay, let me ask you this, man. We look at the Final Four real quick. I know this is kind of away from Auburn, but do you think the transfer portal has actually helped the parity in college basketball? Because we see San Diego State, and I know they've been a winning program, but they reached the Final Four, and just Miami getting there. I mean, that's amazing to see. And I think that's the furthest that they've ever been. So we're used to seeing the UConn there, but it just, I'm okay with the transfer portal. Like you said, I think they need to clean a couple things up, but I do love how it has created from top to bottom. You look at the schools like St. Peter's last year, just making a run, and then those guys getting their opportunity to transfer out to bigger schools and everything. Just give me your thoughts on that, man.
No, yeah, I'm with you too. I think it's fun. I like the parity, and I like, college basketball. The NCAA tournament has always had pretty good parity, but you're seeing it more and more. Seeing the 15-2 upsets and stuff like that are just becoming common, and I think it's fun. I think it makes sense for everybody, especially in college basketball. There's so many teams that, and so many teams that have a chance to make the NCAA tournament. You can be a down transfer from an SEC program, and you don't have to feel like you're going to play for a school that'll never make it on ESPN or something like that. So, or, there's not just the UCF and Boise's that are taking those guys. It's, there's 20 or 30 schools out there where you feel like you can go make the NCAA tournament at that aren't high major or whatever. So I like it. It's fun.
Yeah, man, I love it as well. It's been a blast. I think this has been one of the best NCAA tournaments that we have ever gotten to see. Just seeing a team like Princeton go on the run that they went on, and just San Diego State just absolutely giving that school across the state the business.
Oh, they want playoffs now. They said said that they want 3-game playoffs now because the best team doesn't gets out in the NCAA tournament too much, according to Bama fans.
And Jay, you called it, man. On the last time you were on here, you said that they were going to run into a team like that, and you said that you had some worries about how Alabama shoots the 3 ball, and they didn't shoot it well that night, man. But I think it's been a great tournament to watch.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think, saying on Alabama, they were a really good team this season, but I think that this tournament especially showed that the SEC was just kind of like we were talking about last time. It was a down year for the SEC. Yeah. Alabama was still great. That's why they dominated the SEC. But everybody else just, their stats were still inflated, and their dominance was a little bit inflated. And that's not something they could have avoided, but something that, looking at the stats, looking at the SEC being the literal worst 3-point shooting team or conference in the country, having its worst ever shooting season in conference history. It's like, so yeah, of course the team that can shoot well and defend is just gonna, dominate. And it was they had trouble with South Carolina there at the end. They had trouble with Auburn. That a bunch of teams gave them trouble at the end, and I think that was why. You get a team like San Diego State, and they can give you trouble.
Big physical guards, man. Bruce, if you're listening, man, big physical guards, 6'4", 6'5". We want to see it.
Didn't mention Damian Dunn at Temple is another pretty big physical guard that Auburn's been pretty into as well. I think that he'd make a pretty good fit. Could also be one of those that makes a couple players think about it.
Love that.
If I asked you about the big guards, let's say that Jalen goes pro, right? Or whatever. But let's say Jalen decides to leave, and that opens up a spot there at the 4. Are there some big guys out there? Like there's some trees out there that we're going after, and then let's say that we get a big guy that can play the 5 spot. Do you think that we could see Janai move to the 4?
Yeah, I know when they recruited Janai, they pitched him on the ability to play him at the 4 and the 5, especially with his developing shot. I could see some of that happening. I know they contacted one of the TCU big men. He's sort of like a 4 or 5 as well. I think Eddie Lumpkin, is that his name? I feel like that might not be his name, but either way, TCU big man. I believe that we're also in contact with Jaquan Walton, who just committed to Alabama, but he had some academic kind of Desi Sills-ish.
Oh, okay.
Not having a major matchup at Auburn and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that Alabama is going to have to deal with as well, but that they're just going to bite the bullet on, I guess. But he was another one, so I'm sure there's more feelers out there. We don't get every single contacted. Tipton only gets what he gets, and Slater and all those other guys. So I'm sure there's some other feelers out there. So we'll see. And then you always got this. You got all these postseason tournaments are about to end, so get a few more guys considering, and then you'll have the NBA draft dropouts too. I always like having a spot open around that time, so you get some guys who are fringe draft picks coming back in. They want to go somewhere for 1 year and show their stuff. Maybe you can get one of those really good, like Janai Brome type mid-major transfers to come up and give you 1 year before you get this big 2024 class in too. Might not be a bad.
One thing I've noticed with a lot of these guards that we're after is they have like 1 year at the max, 2 years left of eligibility, and you got to think that's because you've got these 2 studs coming in the next class. So I think that's a big. Just kind of looking at it, it looks like Bruce is saying, "Hey, we want to improve the guards, but I got these 2 guys coming in, and it's all we're just waiting on. Just come on, LeBaron, just get here, baby."
And depending on who Auburn gets, and sorry about the noise, but depending on who Auburn gets in this transfer portal recruiting cycle, it kind of feels like their top priority needs to be 2024 either way.
Yes.
Because no matter who you get in this one, your chances of doing something really special are probably going to multiply when those 2 5-star guards get onto campus, because, especially if you can get some, if you can build a good core out of this current class, get 5 or 6 guys that are going to for sure return to that team, and add those 2 5-stars and, Peyton Marshall and whoever else ends up joining them. That's going to be a scary team right there. And so, you don't want to take up too many spots there too, because, who knows, maybe they can get somebody else to convince one of those 5-stars they're going to be doing all these camps with and stuff to join them up over there too. So got to take that 2024 class into account with everything.
Yeah.
Well, Jay, let me ask you something real quick, man. I got to ask this question last night, and I was kind of puzzled. And I wanted to ask you, what are your expectations for next season? And I know it's super early, but everything just swirling around the program right now, the transfer portal and everything. What should Auburn fans fully expect next season in the jungle?
I think that you have that baseline expectation, like we were saying. Auburn's going to be competitive. They're going to have talent. They're going to be fun to watch. Just the things that you expect under Bruce Pearl. But in terms of like wins and stuff like that, that's going to be heavily dependent on what happens, of course, over these next couple of weeks and months and who joins and who leaves the team. But, I think that an NCAA tournament team is going to be expected no matter what, should be. And I don't necessarily, if Auburn keeps the majority of guys that are still here and maybe adds one of these bigger guards, I think that a top half of the SEC, maybe truly contending for that fourth seed in the SEC, depending on how everything else in the SEC shakes out too, is something that can be, sort of like a goal.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe getting to the Sweet 16, but I don't think that they're necessarily going to be a championship caliber team in terms of, national championship expectations if they don't make any insane additions or anything like that. I think that, you expect them to compete, to play well, maybe win a couple of games in the NCAA, hopefully win a couple of games in the NCAA tournament, but you're mainly sort of building some of that experience up for that coming season as well. You want to see, I think in terms of goals and stuff like that, you want to see Aiden Holloway and some of those guys that you're confident that are going to return, playing well, contributing, and, looking like they're going to be very significant pieces of that next team as well. So I think that, this team might be more of a long run haul, but I think they're still going to have a lot of fun parts, no matter who happens, what happens. But very least, I'm going to expect a couple of NCAA tournament wins and, a good regular season, but maybe nothing great.
Well, hey, I love it, man. I
I hope
respect
it changes, man. If they get 2 or 3 of these guards, maybe get another elite big man in that portal. Who knows? They could be really good, but got some work to do to get there, I think.
Yeah, that was my message, man. Earlier, like I said, is just trust Bruce Pearl. I think that we're in such good hands. Everything that he has done since he has gotten on the plains, in my opinion, he's one of the greatest things that ever happened to the entire university. So, Dustin, before we wrap this thing up, man, I know I always give you your final thoughts, man. What you got tonight?
Yes, sir. Appreciate you being on with us, Jay. And
of course,
all the good work you do over there at Auburn Live, man. Everybody go check Jay out and read his work. And follow him on Twitter because it's snappy, man. He's up with it. He's gonna let you know what's going on quick. So great follow on Twitter. You see his ad right there. Yeah, no, it's the truth, buddy. You do a good job. We're kind of here at the show, man. We're kind of experimenting with some things. Here in a couple weeks, probably we're gonna start doing a midweek show. Guys, shoot us DMs, comment underneath us, like give us some ideas for names, stuff like that, but kind of our goal with that is going to be, we've got the midweek baseball games and we always want to review that. Y'all know we're going to pump love into the baseball program, but just kind of checking with you guys in the middle of the week and touch on everything that's going on with Auburn. Cause I mean, you see it this week, man, things are constantly popping. So, just be on the lookout for that. And y'all know the deal, man. I mean, hit that like button, smash that thumbs up for us, subscribe. We're always pumping out the Auburn content. We're not going to stop. We're only going up. Appreciate all the love you guys give us.
Jay, you got your final thoughts, man? Anything you want to get off your chest?
I don't know, man. nothing too much that I haven't already said. Just really hoping this portal stuff shakes out, gets Auburn some fun stuff, and that they can really compete for some of those top guys.
Yeah, man. Hey, I love it, Jay. We appreciate you, man. We just love your content, everything you do for Auburn basketball, all the tweets, all the articles, man. We love it. Keep working hard, and we appreciate you joining us. And with that, we are going to get out of here. To everybody, War Damn Eagle, and we will catch you on the next one. We're out.